All right, well, here we go. The moment we've all been waiting for. Finally got enough prep done in the shop and enough materials in to get this ball rolling. So I figured I'd give you a little look-see around where we're starting, because Olivia's in a bit of a state of disrepair at this point. She's quite the disaster area, to say the least. So I'll take you to the front, we'll look around the V-berth, and we'll just work our way back around. All right, so I'm gonna turn you around. So, as you can see, someone had started a tear out, and this is kind of what we're left with. You'll notice there's port lights still in place. There's actually 4 that we left on board intact because they were not in critical areas for the beginning of the work, and it was important that we get the ones back that we needed to start with. So there's 2 up in the V-berth, and there's 1 still in this head, and then there's 1 that I actually missed. And this is a double stateroom over here, but there's 1 I actually missed that's actually in the master stateroom closet. It's I believe a kind of a wet locker, and totally just missed it. We didn't see it until we were leaving the boat the day that I took all the ports out. So that's all right. We've got 10 done. So as we replace them moving back in from the stern to the bow, we'll pull out the ones that were not done originally and take them back to the shop and get them done. So as Mads would say, instead of "oh glorious sanding," we've got "oh glorious port work," never ending. So anyway, so you know, we've got hatches that still need to be potentially pulled out and rebedded. I'm not sure. I really have to check them out and see, but they definitely need new seals and probably need new lenses and all that good stuff. But we're kind of, like I said, we're starting at a bit of a mess. Of course, she didn't look like this when we bought her, but slowly we've been going through stuff and pulling stuff apart and that sort of thing. There's a galley. There was a cosmetic wood repair done over there. I've showed you guys before, but I've actually got wooden plates that I cut on the CNC that go around each one of those port openings that create a nice wood edge all the way around for mounting and sealing. And then of course when I put them on, I'll come back with probably thickened epoxy and level those plates out with the port openings before I reinstall the ports. So that's kind of what we're dealing with there. But big chest, a refrigerator, freezer, of course the engine and the generator, as you know, are down here. This whole sole, much of it is rotted. You got pretty substantial areas of rot, like over here from leaking, these leaking windows over the years. They've been running down underneath and then running down the wall and rotting that out. So this whole sole will have to be pulled up. So I'm gonna have to pull everything out of here, take the sole up and replace that, and then we're gonna probably do some sort of a synthetic teak and holly floor covering. So I have to pull the sole up in here, and then I have to pull it up down here, in here, and certainly in the V-berth. As you can see, there's, you know, big sections of floor missing. But I neglected to say before, but this originally was a head, so we're going to put the wall, we're going to bring the boat back effectively pretty close to original. There's only a couple little things we're going to change. So we'll put the walls back in here, toilet, rebuild the vanity. As you see over here, there is a door opening. Well, originally there would have been a wall that came right in through here and then cornered back over here, and then there was a toilet and a base, and then I think some sort of a locker right up here, and that actually would have been for that double berth, because there was obviously a berth down here and then one here as well, and then there's a little hanging locker back there. But so what we're going to do actually is just seal this doorway off. This double berth has good access to the hall bathroom right over here. If I could move the camera where my fingers are at. But they can go straight across the companionway and into the head right there. So we're probably going to seal this off and then take this vanity base out, get rid of the plumbing and all that nonsense, and create a good sized locker dresser combination over here. And then, because this will be my daughter's room, and or our daughter's room, sorry. And then, of course, you know, there's some drawers down here, and we're going to try to preserve all the original stuff. But up there in the chain locker, when the winch was changed over, who knows how long ago, they put a pretty substantive winch on there. It went from being an old school, just vertical capstan style winch to being a winch for, like, you know, a super tanker. So it went from being, you know, 40 pounds probably of metal and motor hanging in there to being about 250 pounds of cast iron and motor and all that. Well, the trunk where that old capstan went was just not built up enough, and as a result, there's crazing and cracks in the gel coat all around that up top. So I'm going to pull that out, either cut out or dig out the plywood that's in there, and then rebuild that and create a solid trunk all the way down. So that's the plan up there. This, of course, is a very unfortunate addition, which is a marine air conditioner unit that takes over for the very large 23 by 23 hatch that was up there. And of course, you know, Atkins and Hoyle made all the ports and hatches on this boat, and I've already checked in with them, and to get replacement parts, the hatch cover and that sort of thing and lens is like 80% of the cost of the hatch, and the hatches are just, they're just cost prohibitive, let's just say that. So but so again, we've got more hatch work that has to be done. These lenses will have to be replaced because they're crazed. These will probably have to be completely pulled out and rebedded. And a lot of water damage, as you can see, everywhere. Thank God she holds water like a champ from the water line down, but from the water line up, she's like a little miniature rainforest, with a little bit of water coming from just about every deck fitting. So we're going to rebed all that. So we had some problems with the cockpit sole where it felt like it was spongy, but it has these teak grates in it that are kind of worn out and broken down. So I thought on the trip back that maybe it was just that. I was hoping on the trip back, let me rephrase that it was probably just that. Turns out it's not. There's two gutters up here that run down each side. If I can get the angle here, see, there's a gutter, and then there's a drain, of course, in the middle of that. And over the years, those drain cups, which are fiberglass in place, have begun to leak, and there's a fiberglass and plywood core underneath of here that is pretty substantively rotted out. I'll show you that. So this is what we're dealing with down here. This piece actually just debonded and fell out when we took this cover plate off, but this, I believe, is probably some reparative effort that was made over time. And of course, it's got the pedestal anchor bolts up here holding that in place still. I just need to pry it loose, but underneath of here is a fiberglass core, and it's, as you can hear, it's pretty hollow and pretty movie. So that I got to cut all that out and dig that out, and then replate that in plywood probably. I've looked at some other options, but it's probably going to end up being plywood and then be fiberglass back in. And then of course we're going to repair. These are the drain cups from those gutters. We're going to get that stuff pulled apart and see what we can do to repair that. And get that redone. And then, so this is all going to get reglassed and recored. And when I do that, what I'll do is I'll build a frame up here, and then we'll use stanchions coming off of here to prop it up to hold the pieces in place. But what I want to do is program a little bit of an arch into it, just very subtle arch, but do that so that the water that's up there, instead of it being, in a belly like this, it's going to have a little bit of a crown, so it'll be encouraging that water to run off into the gutters, which as it stands now, it'll hold probably 1/2 to 3/4 of a gallon in that ditch that's caused by this thing, by this sole sagging. But anyway, so I'm thinking I may have to pull the steering cable system apart and pull the pedestal up so that I can get access to that whole area, because I presume there's 4 mounting bolts for the pedestal. And I presume, based on what I've seen so far, that those come straight through the plywood, and they're probably not cored in fiberglass or in epoxy resin. So I'll probably take that out, dig out whatever core is back there that's bad. So I have to move all this mechanical stuff right here. All these cables, of course, go into the pedestal for the various systems that are up there. So, you know, I'll work to dig all that stuff out. With that plywood back that you see right here is actually the back of a closet in our stateroom, which, you know, I'd rather not have to take that apart if I can help it, in order to get up to the last of that sole plate. But we'll certainly do what we have to do, because as you can see, the anchor bolts are right in line with the back of this. So I don't know how well we're going to be able to repair that without taking that apart. But if we have to take it apart, we take it apart. It's just wooden screws. So take it apart, put it back together, no big deal. In here, let me back up so you guys can see a little bit better. But in here is a settee area that was originally requested by the owner who had her built, the gardeners. And you know, it's served its purpose over the years. But honestly, we've got a beautiful tabletop that was left over, and there used to be a table base right here. So what we're going to do is take the table base from this, we're going to rob that, take that out. We don't need the additional berth space once we put the double berth back together. So we're going to take this tabletop out, reutilize that wood somewhere, and then we'll take that really nice base out of there and put it back into the salon and put the original tabletop back on her. Or I assume that's original tabletop, because clearly there was a table out there before. And then this entire area is going to get deconstructed down to the stringers. We're going to strip all this old wood repair off that was clearly done to repair water damage from that port. That port had a broken handle. That's the one that I had a broken handle on. I had to order a replacement from Atkins and Hoyle. But it had a broken handle and it was leaking like a sieve. So I can only assume that was why that was repaired. But anyway, we're going to pull all this out. I'm going to create a battery storage compartment right down here in the sole. Right now there's I think a 4D or an 8D or whatever it is, a big old battery down there, an AGM, and then there's an AGM in here. I'm going to pull those out. They're relatively new. So I'm going to pull those out, and those are going to get reutilized. I may end up separating the anchor windlass circuit off, so that there's not a 30-foot run to that motor. I may end up separating that off and using one of these batteries up there to support that, so that it's a shorter run. That'll be much easier on the motor and on the battery. To be, you know, at source. And then the other one I may hang on to for, we're going to have her pulled out, and I'm going to put a bow thruster in her once we've gotten this interior refit stuff done. So I'll probably hang on to that other battery for that, because again, neither one of those batteries is more than 2 years old. So and they haven't gotten a great deal of use. They've just been used for house purposes in here. But I'm going to put lithium in, probably 8 or 10. So we're looking at 800 to 1,000 amp hours of lithium. And like I said, I'm going to create a deck lid that I can flip up down here. And then back here, we're going to put in cabinets, base cabinets. And I'm not sure on the overhead section yet if I'm going to put anything up there. Probably will put shelving of some sort up. But I want to turn this into kind of a workspace for me. Just a workbench area where I can do work on Olivia, or, you know, kind of part of our retirement plan is I'll pick up a little work here and there as we go along on other boats or what have you. So nice to have a workshop area, and God knows I'm kind of lost without workspace. But so stay tuned for lots of electrical stuff, I guess, in the future, because we're getting ready to order an arch davit setup to install on her. So we'll be putting in solar. She does have, I'll take you out here and show you, she originally had a wind generator. Oh, can't see it down here. Anyway, she had a wind generator that's on a bracket that's on the mizzen mast. Well, the posts for that's still in place and everything's in good shape. So what we'll end up doing is reutilizing that. And so I'm looking around for wind generators and all that right now. But anyway, so that brings us back to the master stateroom where I'm going to start today. Doing a strip out. Again, 2 more big hatches up here. All of the stays for the hatches are broken and missing. I think we had 1 left. And again, I priced them through Atkins and Hoyle trying to stay with the original stuff. But again, they were, let's just say, cost prohibitive. So I found an alternative. The other thing too is that a lot of these tabs on the operable section on the part of the hatch that moves, obviously, a lot of those tabs are broken off or are damaged. Either the threaded section is split off or the entire lug is broken off. So what I'm most likely going to do is I'm going to, I've found replacements that were reasonable. So I'm probably going to, you know, figure a way to attach those appropriately and use those instead. We've got a couple big hatches in here that need to be done. This is probably 18 by 18, and that one I think is 23 by 23. And then, of course, we've got old fixtures. My wife is in love with the old fixtures, so rather than replace them, we're going to reuse them, but we're going to switch them over to LED to try to be, you know, energy efficient. So we've got those, and then, of course, we've got several of these overhead lights that I think were probably fluorescent tubes or an incandescent tube. So I need to pop those apart and see what those are all about. And I don't know that she's as married to those as she is to these little wall sconces, but we'll figure that out. We're going to have to redo the headliner anyway. It's multiple colors, and it's in poor shape in places. So, and we've got to be able to get to a lot of deck hardware. So the panels are going to have to be pulled down anyway. But we've got to tear all this out. These pieces are staying, the settee and the little dresser. As I said before, there's another port light inside of the hanging locker, which you can see somebody's done a neat little strip lap and looks like cedar. And then some, you know, some component pieces are in here as well. But it's a hell of a big locker. I mean, you could literally probably stand 2 full-grown adults inside of there. So it's a pretty big locker. So we just want to make sure we get that straightened up and working right. This, I'm not sure what that is. It's possibly for chain plate, but I couldn't say for certain. I know that this little box right here is actually creating a mechanical space for these. And then, of course, there's a stay rod that goes up. Called it a stay rod. I don't know if that's what the hell you call it, but anyway, it's sort of the rod base for this mid-spreader stay, or mid-stay. Anyway, so you can see, again, lots of water damage stuff. So we're going to try to preserve as much of her original woodwork as possible, but obviously we've got a lot of, you know, I mean, I can put my finger through that if I push hard enough. So a lot of this stuff's going to have to come down. This is nothing spectacular. It's just a teak laminated, or a teak ply, veneer ply. So it's not that special. And what we're going to do is we need to brighten her up in here, because she's, again, quite dark. And this old teak, unfortunately, if it's not kept up with, it turns orange. And it's not an attractive orange. It's kind of a blotchy, splotchy kind of orange. But anyway, so we'll save what we can. We're going to probably, I don't know, my wife and I are still in negotiations, but I think that what she's told me we're doing is painting the flat surfaces some form of white, and then going back with, you know, with a natural wood trim, something preferably lighter, but we'll see if we can reuse the teak. Then we'll just pull it, sand it out, bleach it with oxalic acid, and then refinish it. But you can see there's substantial water damage from leaking ports and such. This entire top is rotted out back there. That Irwin used a lot of melamine, which is, people will know that as like Formica. That's that, you know, plasticky product that you put on countertops. The problem is, as a 30-year woodworker, that I've found out about this stuff, and the reason I hate it is because it very effectively hides substantial wood rot until the point of complete failure. So if you're not versed in tapping to see what's solid and what's not, if you're just say, you know, Joe homeowner, you wouldn't realize that anything bad was happening under there until you set down a heavy bag of groceries or a pot and the damn thing fell right through the top. So that's what's happened here. Is there's a lot of areas of melamine in this boat that are just, you know, just hiding substantial rot. And again, you can see in the plywood back there as well, there's rot all the way along this edge. It's substantial to the point where there is no structure there anymore. I'm looking at fiberglass. So anyway, all that will have to be pulled out. The liners, again, have to be pulled out. Stuff like this that's got surface rust on it, looks like probably it was maybe a chromed steel. It might be a lower value of stainless, but we'll clean that stuff up and polish it up as best we can. And then as we're going through, we're going to we'll add a little bit of electrical here and there. You know, like we've got a little, which is great over here, but we've got a little USB port that's on top of this little chest of drawers. It would be very helpful for us in our lifestyle to have, you know, something over here of the same ilk, and potentially even a 110 outlet or two, because she has nothing over there either, and she's got the benefit of that on her side. I do not. I may end up putting up some sort of a little drop down, the cute little folding table with a fiddle edge or something, so that I have, you know, a nightstand. And that may end up be what that's that dinette top, this one here, might be what that ends up getting used for. But anyway, so the substantive structure of all this is great. It's intact. Steering gear, of course, is under here. Not entirely certain what else is under there because we haven't pulled the mattress off yet, but that's coming today. That's actually, this room's getting stripped out of everything that wants to be salvaged, because I'm getting ready to do substantial work. This is kind of an unfortunate, I'm a big guy, as those of you who know me know, and there's an unfortunate use of space here. There's this kind of pie-shaped wedge. We don't need that return air and all that stuff there. That stuff could actually be added back over here if we needed it, because there is a marine air conditioning back in the space, and I would imagine that the guts of that are underneath of the berth, but that stuff could be moved around because these drawers are only probably 16 inches deep, so there's a lot of space under there to move stuff. But what I think I'm going to do is probably follow this line in the holly sole, and I'm going to go straight back over here and move this wall pivoted out. And what that'll do is a couple of things. First off, as you can see, there's sort of an unfortunate, you know, if you're a normal sized human being, it's great. But, you know, if you're extra wide and extra thick like me, not so much. So this is in typical fashion for sailboats or for boats in general. This, you can see, is a fiberglass module. So it's got a precast pan down here for drainage. It's got a bathtub shower combination. But what I'm going to do is probably bring this wall out, as I said, straighten it out here, and then this entire thing back here is rotted out. There's just, you can see behind the toilet, for example, how it's just gone. This stuff up here, again, melamine. Can't tell, looks great. You put a little bit of pressure on it and it folds in. So all of this here is going to have to get pulled out regardless. Behind here is a gas locker for propane on the deck. That's getting taken out. So we're going to probably come up, probably way up here and cut that, well, probably way up here, and cut that and make it maybe 6 inches or so deep, because I don't want to deal with having to pull the hatch out and rebuild the deck and all that. But we're going to cut the bottom off of that, put a new fiberglass bottom on it, you know, fix it all up, flow coat it or whatever, and be done with that. But what that'll allow us to do is move this wall back to the same elevation as that wall, which will give us a little bit more movement space in here. This I can't do anything about because, of course, this is part of the cockpit area. But what I'm also going to have to do, since I'm going to have to disassemble most of this anyway, is I'm going to take this vanity basin, or the basin itself, and move it back over here. Put the faucet in probably right over here. And then I'm going to square this cabinet up because the space that's in here is awful. It's just not usable. But in doing that and moving this wall out 6 or 8 inches, what we'll do is we'll be able to come to the vanity this direction and use it that way. But it creates more width in here and more depth. So those who are, you know, enjoying the throne have a place to put their knees other than right up against a vanity base. And should both of us need to be here at the same time, my wife being substantively smaller than me, we'll be able to fit right in there, no problem. So anyway, it's I know it's a lot of stuff, and we're, again, this is ever evolving. But the other thing, this is that other locker I told you about. That back wall is bordering that pedestal mechanical space that we looked into earlier. But it's cute. Somebody did a cute little job with 3/8 cedar and lining this up and making little shelves in it, which, you know, are okay, but we're gonna have to do something more substantial because, you know, big people have big clothes. So if we put anything in there of any weight, it's gonna crush those. There's a little outlet in there. So again, a lot of stuff coming, a lot of rework coming. And again, we're just kind of figuring it out as we go along. So I'm going to do my best to learn how to film this so that my wife will quit ripping her beautiful hair out. Trying to figure out how to edit together 2 parts of 12 that she needed for a particular project. Frankly, which makes me look like an idiot because I'm not getting, but this is a long-term problem for me. I spent 35 years building cabinetry and furniture and doing woodworking projects and remodel work and all that, and I frequently forget to film the beginning of it, the before. I usually will take a couple of pictures in the middle and then forget to take a picture of the end product. So my portfolio is more Swiss cheese like than solid record. But anyway, it is what it is. So I guess for now I'll end it there, and I'm going to find a place to set this camera up that's going to kind of be out of the way, and I'm going to start moving all this nonsense out of here and getting pulled out what needs to be pulled out, like this wood back over here, and getting down underneath it here once I get the mattress out and figure out what the hell's going on under there, figure out what I can do about moving the mechanical stuff around so that I can buy back that wall space that I want over here. And I guess that's it for now. All right, well, I will set you guys up and kind of do either a time lapse or just do a straight video and let my wife figure it out in editing. But all right, thanks guys.